Happy New Year's, my fellow Doom Watchers. It is officially 2026. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great New Year's. I know I've been away for a little while, and that's because I was at a little place called Disney World. And also, school just started up for me again, so that's fun. But unfortunately, we are sadly going to be starting off 2026 by responding to a comment. This comment comes from my debunking 8 Snydercult arguments I did a while back. I could just normally reply to this user, but I'd rather make a video countering all his arguments, because there's a lot I want to say. So let's start at the top and work our way down. Snyder fans are not a cult. We literally don't fit the definition of a cult. Now, for the first argument, they're completely right. Snyder fans are not a cult, because Snyder fans and the Snyder cult are two completely different things. A Snyder fan enjoys Snyder's movies, they don't bash on Gunn or his fans, they don't worship him like he's a god, and they don't partake in the ridiculous restore the Snyderverse movement. A Snyder cultist, on the other hand, does all of those. They call Gunn a PDF, they nitpick every single little thing about the DCU, and they do partake in the restore the Snyderverse movement. So the user is correct. Snyder fans don't fit the criteria of a cult because there already is a Snyder cult. Oh, and before you try to argue against that, here's the definition of a cult. How about you look at that and then go to the Snyder subreddit? Because if you take just one look into the Snyder Cut subreddit, you will see that it perfectly fits the description of a cult. Look, if you just enjoy Snyder's movies, if you don't really care about the DCU, that is completely fine. And one more thing before I move on to the next argument, I love how he didn't even bother to watch the video. Here's how I know that he didn't watch the video. Now, before I go any further, let me say that not all Snyder fans are like this. I'm just pointing out the ones who go out and harass James Gunn and his fans, and just trash on the new Superman movie. But one more thing before I start, if you want to leave a comment explaining why you disagree, I'm going to be giving you a code word at the end of the videos that means you watch the full video. So if you want to leave a comment saying that you disagree or something, you have to use that code word in your comment so that I know you watched the whole video. Alright, moving on. Secondly, MCU fans physically assaulted people multiple times involving the police and medics. That's been reported, but no one says anything or calls that out. Yet people keep calling us a cult and the worst fan base, but say nothing about the toxic MCU fans. They never get called an MCU cult. Way to completely change the subject, and bring up something that has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. This isn't a competition on which fan base is more toxic than the other, and there's bad parts about every fandom. No fandom is perfect. Of course, there are some Gunn fans who are horrible people, just like how there are some Snyder fans who are some great people, which is why I say that there's a difference between a Snyder fan and a Snyder cultist. Also, I did some thorough research on MCU fans physically assaulting people, and I couldn't find a single thing. I did find 2 results, one being the Jonathan Majors incident, and the other being a story back in 2019 when Avengers Endgame first premiered. A man shouted Avengers Endgame spoilers and he got, attacked. Feel free to fact check me because those are the only 2 sources that I could find. Alright, next argument. A lot of Snyder fans are angry at the fact that WB exploited the death of Snyder's daughter to rush out Justice League for our personal bonuses, then gave us 8 flops in a row after Snyder left. WB has been doing that to DC movies for over 40 years. Okay, I might get a lot of hate for saying this, but the idea that WB exploited Autumn's death is bullshit. I did some extensive research on that, and I came to the conclusion that that is only a rumor. Now, the reason that people say that WB exploited Autumn Snyder's death was to use it as a cover so that they could rush Justice League, so that they could qualify for personal bonuses in time for the AT&T merger. Now, here are a few reasons why that's just not true. First things first, Justice League was always scheduled to release in November of 2017. So even if Snyder didn't step down, that movie was always set to release at that time unless it was delayed. Second, even if WB did exploit Autumn Snyder's death, you would think that Snyder would have called them out for that, right? In fact, the only people I see making that claim is Snyder cultists. You would think that WB exploiting Autumn Snyder's death would be widespread news. But the reason I see no one else talking about it isn't because it's a fact, it's because it's a rumor. If anyone's exploiting Autumn Snyder's death, it's you. You're the one using her death to create a ridiculous conspiracy theory to push your own agenda.
So if you are going to call us out for bashing Gunn in his Superman movie, which you have a right to do, are you going to make a video about how Snyder has been constantly bashed for the past 13 years over his DC work?
When you say which you have a right to do you mean you have the right to call out Snyder cultists for bashing on Gunn, or you have the right to bash on a movie? Because yes, I do have a right to call out Snyder cultists for bashing on Gunn, saying horrible things about him, and nitpicking every single thing about Superman. Or if you mean argument number 2, you're mostly right. You do have a right to call out a movie for its mistakes, because that's just criticism. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Superman is the greatest movie of all time. It's not perfect, of course it made mistakes, but I still think it's amazing nonetheless. However, there comes a point where it's no longer criticism, but you're just overanalyzing shit. And you sure as hell don't have a right to harass Gunn or his fans. You claim that you're not a cult and say that MCU fans are worse, yet you turn around and do shit like this. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic. To answer your question, no. Because this has nothing to do with Snyder, this has to do with the fan base. Moving on.
Any thoughts on Gunn fans making fun of the death of Snyder's daughter?
I think it's horrible. People who actually joke about that are genuine pieces of shit. If you're a Gunn fan who made fun of Snyder's death, first of all, fuck you. Second, fuck off this channel. And third, get a goddamn life. No slightly decent human being with a heart and a soul would ever make fun of someone's death. Now, with all that being said, that does not define an entire fandom. Just because some Snyder fans are toxic doesn't mean the entire fandom is. Just because some Gunn fans are toxic doesn't mean the entire fandom is. Hell, it's not only Gunn fans who do this. I mean, just take a look at r/movies CJ. I'm not trying to justify this, no one should be joking about Snyder's death. But it is not just toxic Gunn fans who do this. Look, before you go in the comments calling me a Snyder hater, let it be known that I was just as upset about the Snyderverse being cancelled. Yeah, I was pissed when I found out that the Snyderverse was gonna get cancelled. But guess what? I moved on. The reason I hate the Snyder cult so much is because it's just all of this toxicity and copium over something that ended so long ago. Like, you see this war between Gunn cultists and Snyder cultists over comic book media. It is movies about superheroes. There's no reason to be hurling death threats and making murderous AI images. And I'm sorry guys, but the Snyderverse isn't coming back. It sucks that Snyder wasn't able to complete his vision, but it's over now. There is nothing we can do about it. So all in all, this isn't about Snyder or Gunn or the movies at all. It's about both of the fandoms and the toxicity between them. We're out here fighting like the families in Romeo and Juliet when it's just over cape shit. But that's all I have to say. Until next time, and please just be kind to one another.